And we are live. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the vdoorlocksmith show. We've got a very special show for you guys today. You know what? I need to stop saying that because I say every show is special, even though all of them are. So this one's a little bit different from some of the ones that we've done in the past. This time we're actually taking somebody who's outside of the oil and gas industry, bringing them in and letting them share their knowledge and then wisdom about what they do to us. So the guy that I'm bringing onto the show today, his name is Jordan Miller. And this is the individual that taught me about consistency. He was probably the first trainer that I ever hired. And he taught me that being on my diet consistently for over 150 days straight yields amazing results. I'm very happy to be able to have this person come on the show. I call him a friend, even though we don't talk enough, we don't get together or hang out, but by all means, this guy will always have a special place in my life. So Jordan Miller, thank you for coming on the show today. I really do appreciate it. How are you doing there, man?
I'm great, man. How about you?
All right. Living life. I'm in my sweats today because as soon as we get done, I am going to go for a jog. I've got my tennis shoes on. I got my shorts on. So I am not dressed up like I normally would be for the show. So,
yeah, right, dude. I'm lucky. I live I do an industry that I make a living in sweats and camo. So
it doesn't get much better than that,
dude. I know, it's great. I rarely have to put on. I think I own 2 pair of jeans, and I own like 1 pair of dress pants, and it's like for summer weddings or a funeral. So they don't get put on very often. I just hope they fit me every time that I put them on.
Yeah, those are for just taking out the misses, right? She's like, I want to see you in something other than sweatpants.
Yeah, I have a dark pair of jeans and a light pair of jeans. It just depends on the mood.
All right, so for everybody out there that's watching, let us know where you guys are watching from. We always like to be able to see where everybody's coming in at. If you guys got any questions, comments, or anything, please feel free to hit us up. This is supposed to be a live interactive show, so please do the live interactive portion. It makes this whole thing go by so much easier. And what else was I going to say? I forgot. Anyways, so Jordan, let's do this. Give me a rundown of what is Run to Gun. What is it that you are all about?
Yeah, for sure. I'll try to condense this a little bit. It's quite the story. But we started it. I graduated college in 2011 with a degree in sports exercise. And throughout my growing up, it was 2 things. It was basketball and fitness, right? And so I never thought about a world past basketball until I got recruited to play college basketball, and I had to pick a major. Thankfully, I had a really good trainer myself that I trained with down in Las Vegas that really just stemmed the idea of like, oh, I can make a living off of training people, off of helping people to get better. I'm like, I think I'd be really good at that. So picked that as my major. And then hunting, the other big side of me is I saw my dad was obviously my most biggest mentor in the hunting world. But I grew up watching my grandfather, my great uncles. They had these huge lodges out in the woods that had filled with mounts and elk and sheep. And as I was graduating college, they were getting to the age, or I was getting to the age where I was like, awesome, I'm going to have some free time to go with them. And they were getting to the age where they were like, I don't feel physically prepared enough or physically able enough to do these big Western hunts anymore. And so that really bummed me out. And so it stemmed the idea to create a program that was really geared towards training hunters and outdoorsmen and women to prolong their hunting careers so that they can hunt into the future with their grandkids longer. And so I started working on the Run to Gun concept in 2011 and 12 and opened it up then. And that's purely what it was for, was just to train hunters and outdoorsmen and women. After that, as we were building websites and promo videos, we joked around after we made our original promo video that, oh, dude, this would make a really cool TV show. And so the next week, I actually pitched it to a regional network here in the Midwest, and it was in August, and they were like, oh yeah, like, can you have a season to us for January 1st? And I'm like, well, yeah, how much is a season? They're like, it's 13 episodes. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. And so I walked out the network, and I sat in my car, and I was like, dude, you don't even own a camera. Like, how are you gonna film a TV show? but we figured it out, you know, and
Wow.
we just finished season 7 this year. So it's been a crazy ride in that sense, but we've really branched off into so many different things, with originally being just training to, I make a majority of my living off of training people that aren't getting ready for a hunt. You know, I make all my bills are paid for by just training, you know, generic population. It's the people that are training for the hunt that are my bonus for sure. That you know, that they're the really fun ones during certain times of the year. And, you know, from there, we branched off into our own supplement line this year, this past year, and just several different other revenue streams from the one business that started. So it's been really cool.
Awesome. For some reason, somebody's telling me that they're getting feedback noise here. So I got to.
Little feedback. I had a little feedback from you earlier, but it meshed out.
Hopefully this will fix it. So I just selected a different audio source. So maybe that's it. Abel, thanks for tuning in and letting me know. Abel's actually a prior business partner of mine.
Awesome.
Great guy. So one of the things you said there that, sorry, morning allergies.
Allergies.
Yeah. So one of the things that you mentioned there that is one of the big questions I wanted to be able to ask you is about your entrepreneurial journey. I know that we have this in common, is where you still had a full-time day job, and then at a later point transitioned from, you know, doing kind of the side hustle thing into going to full-time. What was that journey like for you? What advice would you have for other people out there who, I know that the whole side hustle culture lifestyle thing is kind of taking place, but I know a lot of people's ultimate goal is to go from, you know, doing the 9 to 5 and then having the side hustle at night and then working their way into being able to make that full transition. What advice would you have for people that are trying to do that?
For sure. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because you're probably one of very few people that actually know about that. I haven't talked about that much. And I was actually, when I got in touch with you and was helping you through your journey, I was into that side hustle. If I remember right, I was training full time at a gym. So I was working for them. And then I had Run 2 Gun on the side. And you were one of my Run 2 Gun clients. But that was like, I think, you know, around that 2014 range or somewhere. I can't quite remember.
Yeah, that's when the kids were born.
Yeah, but that was like before side hustle was like a term, you know, or was like a trend. For me, it was just like, it was part of that journey that I knew needed to take place in order to be where I wanted to be. So I knew I needed to work full time to pay my mortgage. I was about ready to have a family. I was already married. It was just like a common sense thing to me. I did grow up in an entrepreneurial family. My dad owns a hotel. I started my first business when I was 12. I went to the bank and got out a loan for a vending machine to put in my dad's hotel. And I don't know why they gave me $5,000, but they did. I'm guessing my dad co-signed on that loan without me knowing about it.
What bank are you working with?
Dude, small town banks, by the way. That's why I still have a business today.
Somebody at that bank owed your dad a favor.
I'm thinking you're right. So started that up. And so I've always been lucky to have that. But, you know, the side hustle thing was just like, for me, it was just like a common sense to get to where I needed to be. So I would get up at 4 a.m. and I would get to the gym at 5. I would train my clients till 9 to 10, depending on my day. I would drive back home a few miles. And that's when I'd get online and I'd start being in touch with all of you guys, all my online clients, all my Run 2 Gun clients. I would do that till 2:30 in the afternoon. And then I'd go back to the gym from like 3 to 8. And I would train the rest of my one-on-one clients or my small group clients. And so those days got really long. And it was a long process. So that was usually my Monday through Friday. And then on Friday afternoon, I'd get in my car, me and my wife would, and we would drive 3 hours back to my dad's hotel, and we would paint hotel rooms or do some kind of work over the weekend on like Friday night till Sunday. And we'd drive back home and we work Monday through Friday. And so, but it wasn't like, I look at it now and I'm like, oh, that's terrible. Like, how did, you know, but it was just like the moment of life I was in. I didn't think anything of it. I just knew is what I had to do to get to where I wanted to be. So I knew sacrifice needed to take place, and I knew I needed to be tired and I was okay with it. But what that did is some people might look at that and be like, okay, well, doing all that extra work outside of your own business or that entrepreneurial mindset is taking away from being an entrepreneur. I don't disagree with that, but I also knew that by doing that, I would gain some financial freedom in certain areas that in 6 months or a year would grant me some extra freedom to put towards where I wanted to be in my business. So I just knew that it was like an ebb and flow what I needed to do. So I did this for 6.5, 7 years.
Wow.
Of like working full time for people. And then working on my side gig. I just took Run Again full time on June 1st. So I'm closing in on 1 year. So I did that June 1st of 2019.
Congratulations, sir.
Yeah, it's been, thanks so much, man. It's been awesome. And honestly, like the stress level from like doing it all went from here to like just working for myself to here. And it's a different time of stress. And definitely in like times like we're in now, there's so much more variables. There's so much more unknowns. But it's just weird how much like even the happiness level like just really even goes up just because because I always wondered like, okay, if I was to give 60, 80, 90 hours a week to myself, my own business, where would it get to? Like, and I always believed like if I had 3 months to do it, where could I take it? I think I could make it full time. Well, sure enough, I finally got the opportunity to take the bet on myself back in June. And so far, we're still kicking, so it's all right. But I think that advice is just to wrap that whole process up. I wanted to give the example is to be patient with it, but also be like impatient with it. I know that contradicts itself, but you have to be patient in the sense of knowing that it's going to take time. I knew for me it wasn't going to be this year, back in 2012, 2013, 2014 when I started it. I knew it wasn't going to be this year. So I had to be patient that way, but I had to work like I was being impatient, that I wanted it to be within 6 months. And so it's just like, it's a speed and patient thing all at the same time. And the other advice would just be, is just financially to not be ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, cause that is also what helped me get to where I wanted to be. So whenever I made a little extra money, I didn't just like go blow it. I stacked some more, especially my last year leading up 2018, that first half of 2019, I knew that 2019 that I'd likely have this opportunity. And so that like 10 months leading up in late 18, 19, I was putting away like cash, like not even in the bank. Like I was getting paid in some cash once in a while, and I just like put it away. And it was like I knew it was going to be emergency fund. I told my wife that it was my sheep fund. I was saving up to do a big sheep hunt, which is really expensive. But I knew like deep down that that money wasn't going to be used on a sheep hunt. I knew like it was going to help transition me. And I was probably going to have to use it as an emergency fund those first 3 to 4 months that I went self-employed. And sure enough, that's exactly what it was. Like I've used all of it. It's gone. Not going to go on a sheep hunt. So, but it gave me the opportunity to do it.
So in those first couple of months, did you notice? I mean, this is at least what it was for me, is that in the first couple of months, it was like the ability to do whatever I wanted, the creativity, the reduction in stress. It was like, I would have paid so much money for this. It's like I may not be making financially the same money I used to make, but like all of the other freedoms that came with it was just like, this is so much better. I should have done this a long time ago.
100% right. Go ahead.
No. You're the guest. Go ahead.
Dude, like I literally made in that second half of 2019, like 30% of what I was making, who I was working for. You know what I mean? But it was the happiness was 130% better, and it made up for that 70% loss of income. And now it's just a growth factor. So you're totally right. I was also probably spending way too much time at the gym in those first couple of months, but it felt so good not to have a time schedule and just I could work when I wanted. I even quit thinking about whether the day was Wednesday or Saturday. You know what I mean? Like it didn't matter what day it was. I was going to work. So it didn't matter if it was Sunday or Tuesday. Work was going to be done.
That's always one of the things that I've told people is that the whole hustle and grind thing, I think, is kind of this false it's just like something that people just put out there because they want to. Because I was like, if you're really doing the job that you want to do, and you start that entrepreneurial journey, you don't count the hours, you don't care about the hours.
No.
When you get pulled away from work, it's when like you're like, oh, come on, I want to, like, let me work for like one more hour, please. Like, I talked to my brother, mama, anybody in my family, like, hey, is it cool with you guys if I just go work for a couple hours? Because they'll be like, they're like, have fun, and I'm like, I know, I will, because this is fun to me. So
yeah, for sure. On those weeks that you're just loaded with different edits and a couple shows, dude, it is. It's fun because you're creating content which creates value for people, and that's fun, man.
So one of the other things you mentioned, like you had said something about like during the current climate. So as far as you and how you are approaching your business in the current climate, what are some of the things that you're doing to be able to, find the silver linings, leverage those silver linings, and continue to stay on the mission of Run to Gun?
For sure. I literally just this last week on my socials, I put out a lot of content, and this last week I was fairly quiet in the sense of stuff I was putting out, mainly because I didn't feel like I had much of importance to say. So I always hate to waste people's time with valueless content. But was it Sunday night, maybe Saturday night? I can't remember. I put out just a little piece, just a written copy of kind of those same lines, but then going into like, I've given it a lot of thought, but I could sit back and wait, or I could complain or be soft, or I could just keep doing exactly what I'm doing and chasing the same exact dreams that I started chasing when in 2011. And that's just the choice. And I was already doing it, but you start thinking about things in a tangible sense, in an actual thought process. And I'm like, yeah, that's just what I have to do. That comes with adjustments, and how I go about things. I'm lucky in the sense that I'm established in the fitness world where I have my long-term clients that have, for a majority of the 70% are still training with me, which is great. I'm lucky that I train in a personal training studio now, not a big box gym. So I have 3,500 square feet to work with somebody one-on-one with. There's nobody else in the gym. It's a low traffic area. And so it's, in the world that we live in right now in the current moment, people would deem it safe. I will leave everybody's opinions to themselves when it comes to that, but it is. So I'm lucky that I have, a small little people like that I still get the opportunity to work with on a day-to-day basis. And then I'm lucky that I had already established multiple streams of revenue. So like I established the online thing. I established the one-on-one with the TV show. In the past, I had established selling ad space in the past to put in some revenue. That's at certain times of the year. It's not like an all-time, all across the board, but certain times of the year brings in some revenue. In the past, I had really focused on sponsorships with the show. Like if you're a personality, obviously you can have brand sponsorships. That's really evolved into now being like ambassadors and influencer. That definitely wasn't what it was called when I started. But I've actually, it's really funny because I'll get into that really quick because it totally makes sense with what's happening to those right now. Like if you're making a total living off of being an influencer right now, you're probably seeing a big low spot as well. So it's like everybody. 2 years ago, I actually started season 5. I quit going after any sponsorships. So I had a couple people that already worked with me. I kept working with them, but I just like got really sick and tired of the fact of like relying on revenue from other brands that at any moment could be like, nah, we're going in a different direction. You know what I mean? Or, they don't want to kick out money to you that year, whatever it may be, or they just want to give you free product or, free product doesn't pay for your mortgage. And so I really quit focusing on that fact. And I'm like, dude, I just want to brand myself. Like, I don't want to sit here and talk about other people's brands. Like, I want to talk about Run to Gun. I want to talk about my stuff. And so that's when I started working on my own ideas for a supplement line. I had dreamed about it since 2011 when I started Run to Gun. And so I started working at it, and we launched it here this last year. And so now, right now, as things are happening, I don't have to rely on somebody else writing me a check. Like, I am responsible for myself to make sales, to continue relationships with customers, from my own brand, from what I have already built. And so the reliance on the outside sources is so much less. And I just think in times like this, that's very valuable. Just because I can have direct outreach with anybody who's ever purchased anything from me. I can have direct relationships with any of those people, which that's valuable.
Awesome. I just wanted to, for real quick, we've got a couple of people that are watching out there. So
Sweet.
we got obviously Abel Moreno, James Nito, Roy Strawn said no work of any kind is worth doing if it's not fun. I completely agree, Roy. We've also got James Lewis who says hunting is fitness. In fact, you can see the difference between elk hunters in the Rockies.
Yeah, dude, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus right now, but there's a difference between guys so in South Dakota, it's kind of a joke. Like we have East River and West River. It's separated by the Missouri River, pretty much right down the center of the state. And the West River guy, I'm from West River. I live in East River now, but the West River guys like to be tough and make fun of the East River guys. The East River guys like to make fun of the West River guys. They're all the same. They don't know it, but they're all the same. But It's funny because during certain seasons in certain areas where there's a lot of roads, there's a difference between the guys just cruising down the roads, and there's a difference between the guys who are in more of the desolate counties hunting, where you have to get out and work and hike. And so you're so right, and all that transposes obviously to every other Western state. There's a big difference, and you can see it visually, the difference between those people. So, and that's okay. But that's the thing is people don't realize that like being a serious hunter has 100% to do with fitness. I use a hashtag fitness or FitFam or whatever on some of my hunting posts, and you get all the antis and the haters in there that are like, why would you tag health? Why would you take fitness in this photo of a dead elk? And it's like, trust me, this is 100% fitness and health, because you're not doing this if you're unhealthy, and you're not doing this if you're fit. I invite you to come along with me and see. But it's just one of those things. It's just an education standpoint.
I mean, I know some of the hunts you go on are there's a long trek in, long trek out, and then it's like, okay, now do all of that while carrying a gun or bow some sort, carrying a bag full of supplies, food, whatever it may be, and then anything that you harvest from the kill there, it's like, these are large animals. They don't just happen to there's not a helicopter that comes in and grabs this and goes,
no, they don't carry themselves out, and you're not driving a 4-wheeler or a vehicle in there. You can't drive these areas. Dude, you have to be fit. And then you remember you're doing this for not 1 day, not 2 days, like it's 7 days. It's day after day of miles upon miles. And when you're packing out an elk that weighs 800 pounds, so you're packing out 300, 400 pounds of meat. Plus, if you're going to mount it, you're taking the hide, which is extremely heavy. You're taking the horns and the skull, which is extremely heavy. So, I mean, it's work for sure. And if you don't want to get hurt, got to be fit.
And not to mention all the work to be able to get all of those things. Processing is not an easy task. I did that with my dad. I think I was I can't remember. I was probably 12 or 13 the first time we did it. Mm-hmm. And I was just after a while, I'm just like, Dad, I'm tired. He's like, dinner ain't going to make itself.
That's right. But hey, it's nice having a freezer full of meat, man.
Especially right now.
When you're seeing shortages now, you're seeing we had the Smithfield pork plant, one of the top 3 pork producers. I live 30 minutes from there. And, you see that get shut down. They make 18 million servings of pork per day they produce. 18 million. And one of those shut down, people are happy about it. Oh, it's so good. We got that place shut down. And it's no. That's not good. That's an infrastructure problem. So
18 million. I'm guessing that's a bigger story where you live than it is where I'm at. I mean, it's national news, but it's
right.
That's a huge one there in the local economy.
Well, and then you look at, the story headlines across the country about, South Dakota being this hot spot. It's really not all the cases, or 70-some% of the cases are that building, the Smithfield building. You know what I mean? So it's is there's not a bunch of rampant cases running around the state. So it's just like headline reading is interesting. So, but most of the cases are pretty isolated as of now.
18 million.
Isn't that crazy? That's a lot of pork, man.
So you've heard it here on the Run to Gun Gibson Reports Vdor Locksmith show. Bacon shortages are coming.
No, 100%. There's already people, like I had clients, and I'm like, what are you doing buying that much bacon in the first place? I literally had a couple clients run out. Dude, I'm not lying. They sent me pictures. They ran out about like 20, 30 packs of bacon. And like, it's insane. And my wife works for Cisco Systems, which is one of the biggest food companies in the world. And she's like, oh yeah. She's like, our bacon's already running low and its price is going up big time. Like it's nuts. I mean, there's going to be some bacon shortage. So you like your bacon, you like your pork butts, you better go buy some.
I think it's hilarious. You're like, your clients are sending you pictures of this. And you're like, you better not be eating all that.
Dude, I know. I'm like, why are you sending me this? Like, you're telling me you're not eating this, and all of a sudden you're sending me 20 packs of bacon. Like, what are you doing right now? It's pretty awesome, dude. But it's cool when you get to that level of like relationship with your clients. It's ridiculous. Get that bacon.
That reminds me of the story about between us and one of the things I did while we were working together, and I'll say that one off the air. But anyways, so okay, we've talked about entrepreneurship. We talked a little bit about the hunting stuff. Let's talk about like getting started with a fitness program, right? And
sure.
I know from personal experience, before we started working together, like it was just trial and error. And since we've worked together, I've stayed with essentially that exact same system, right? What's the best way for somebody who is either getting their fitness journey started, or even if they've already started and haven't seen the results that they want to? What's the best way of going about and navigating the fitness space without just like being inundated with like noise and so much that's like, there's always the polar opposites. It's like somebody says like, hey, avocados are good, and then somebody says avocados are going to kill you, and it's not like it's 100 people say this and one person says this. It's like there's 100 that say this and 100 that say this, or there's a million and a million. Like,
yeah.
That to me is just like what blows my mind about being in the fitness industry, is that there's so much polarity in every aspect. No matter what direction you look, there's something there. So what advice would you have for somebody that's joining or starting that journey, and then for you and yourself, like how do you handle all of that?
For sure. I mean, well, that's the most challenging part, right? Because anybody can make a steady or take a steady and pull things out of it to get the result they want, that they want to preach out or scream from the rooftops from. I think the biggest thing, definitely, like, especially nutritionally, like you talked about the avocados and things like that, that nutritionally is like to really step back and think like holistically about food and what it actually is. And just think like, okay, what's actually been here? Like what are like whole food is, okay, it's whole food. It's been around forever. Like, okay, I should probably base my diet on those types of things first. So if you're just looking to get started, like just think about what is not processed, what is not being packaged, in that sense of like added sugars, added sodium, all this extra stuff to make stuff last longer. Like, so if you're just looking to like become healthier, that's a great route that you don't necessarily need an expert to help you with. To have fruits and vegetables, to eat meat, to eat whole grains like potatoes and rice and quinoa and oatmeal, things that aren't like that are just 100% whole, and you can just go about it that sense. Okay. So that's like level one, base level. Like from there, like you're going to see results just because it's really hard to get fat or to get fatter or to whatever the term is for you. It's really hard to gain weight off of eating bland foods like that, like potatoes and rice. You're not going to eat enough to get fat because your palate's going to get sick and tired of it before you're probably taking in the amount that you would need to gain a bunch of weight. So that's what I try to tell people at first if they're just looking to get started on their own. From there, like if you want, faster results, or you're just trying to take a game to the next level, like me and you did this, David, like you need to know the amount of that food then that you're eating. So you need to understand, protein, carbs, and fats, the macronutrients. So 3 macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats, that is what food is comprised of. Okay. So from that, calories make up the insides of that. So every gram of protein, 4 calories. Every gram of carbs, 4 calories. Every gram of fat, 9 calories. Every gram from alcohol, 7 calories. Nobody likes to talk about that. So, you need to start understanding then how much of those things to take in order to either lose weight, lose fat, maintain muscle, or increase muscle, whatever your goal is. And there's different ratios of taking those protein, carbs, and fats in, and how much you need of each one to equal out your day in order to achieve those goals. So that's where you start needing to talk to a professional. Most likely, I mean, you can play around with it yourself for sure and do those things and understand how your body's reacting, but you have to give it time. Like there has to be a window of opportunity. Doing it for 3 days and then being off by 40 carbs one day and down by 20 fats the next, like those types of variances, you're not going to know what's going on.
Like when we started the show, I said consistency.
Yeah,
you have to have consistency is the biggest part of that.
And it
works.
It does work. Like no matter what you do, if you do something for a while, you're going to see it work. So if you're eating extra for a while, you're going to see it work, that you're going to put on weight, right? I mean, we know that's how you put on weight. That's how you put on extra fat that you're not wanting. It's because you were consistently eating more than you should have, right? Well, in order to lose that fat, then you're going to have to consistently eat less than what you probably want to at the moment, right? But it's just what it's going to take.
Yep.
And so at that point, talking to a very, a qualified registered dietitian or a very good nutritionist that's been in the field, there is a difference between a registered dietitian and a nutritionist. Any one of us, anybody out there watching right now can be a nutritionist or call themselves a nutritionist. Registered dietitians actually go to a 4-year college to get their dietetics degree and then actually have to complete an internship after that degree. It has to be accepted into an internship and then finish that. So it's a very rigorous program. They're definitely somebody to talk to. They usually know their ins and outs of those macronutrients really well. There are some great nutritionists out there that do as well. So that's a great way. From a fitness standpoint, just like I was just talking about this to some people yesterday. I had some people talk to me that they were just, they got laid off. Actually, one of them was in the oil industry up here in North Dakota. I was just talking to yesterday, and he was laid off, grew up with me. And he's like, I've been working out a lot more, but he's like, man, I'm just struggling to stay motivated and have that motivation to just get off the couch. And I'm like, dude, like that's completely normal. I have those days. I've been working out since I was 14. I'm 31 now. Like, trust me, there's a lot of days I don't want to get off the couch or get away from the computer editing and go work out. But I just know the benefit of it and the mentality changes I have from doing it. So like I've been putting together just these couple little like 3-5 minute just movement routines to just move. Cause it's amazing once you even just move for like 3 to 5 minutes, how your mindset, like it's like an on and off switch. So, oh no, I closed it out on you here. It's like, you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like a light switch. So am I still on yours, David?
Yeah. You're good.
Okay. It's like, and so when we just get up and move, so for you, it might be going for a walk, just like get outside and walk a few blocks. Like if you have 5 minutes, step away from the computer, it will build that positive mindset and build a little momentum for yourself. Like get on the floor, do some glute bridges, do 5 sit-ups, roll over and hold a front plank for 15 seconds. Like it sounds really silly. Like when you're listening to me right now, hear it and you're hearing it like, seriously, dude, like get on the floor and do 10 glute bridges and 5 sit-ups and a front plank for 15 seconds. Dude, I challenge you right now to try it because you're going to go through that little circuit that takes you 90 seconds and you're going to be like, dude, that actually was kind of nice. Like, I'm going to do a second round of it. And, okay, you're going to stand up and be like, awesome, I'm going to go grab a drink of water. That feels good. It's going to build a little momentum for you. And it's going to flip that light switch on just for a little positivity. And when you build that little bit of positivity, it builds a little bit of momentum for you. And that momentum builds a little bit of encouragement for you. And that encouragement helps you get things done that you want to get done, but that negative mindset and the laziness or the, where you're just procrastinating, it takes over those things hold us back. But by moving, it totally just dismantles those other things. And so it's just very important to just, even if it's 4 minutes, like, to do that, because that's what it does. It just starts stemming. We can't always look at it from this, I need to go to get an hour of exercise in today. I got to get an hour. And these people that look like this, they train for 90 minutes. I got to go do that. That's really hard to go from 0 to 90 minutes. And so, like, you need to start by, one, not judging yourself and comparing yourself to the 90 minutes, and start doing 4 minutes, because you weren't doing that before. And that 4 minutes is going to turn into way more. Just slow it down, take a step back. So that would be my suggestion. I do it. And I've been doing this for how many years now? Over half my life. And that is exactly how I still get started.
What I've been doing is every morning, or at least I've gotten to the point now where I'm doing 30 push-ups every morning. But what I started out with was like, I had taken so much time into the business, and I had just been getting up, getting dressed, and like coming to the office as quick as I could, and just totally forgetting about all of my fitness stuff. And so I was just like, all right, I used to be able to do like 75 push-ups straight.
Yep.
Without a problem. And I'm like, I know I can't do that. And I had to like sit down and come to terms and just be like, I am not physically capable of that. I used to be physically capable of that. I am not the same person anymore. And I was like, and I can't start tomorrow morning and say, I'm going to do 45 or 50. I was like, I'm just going to do 10 from my knees tomorrow morning. Like, I'm just going to do like just 10 from my knees. Like, it shouldn't be a challenge, but that's what I'm going to do. And then the next day I was like, all right, we're going to do 10 more. And for like a week, that was what I did. And then it got to the point where it was like, all right, now I'm going to do 15 for my knees, and then 20, and then 25, and then 30. And then I kept pushing it on my knees until it was like, okay, this is the point where it starts to get difficult. And then I was like, and we hit that. And then I stayed there for about a month. And then it was like, all right, now I'm going to drop back down and start doing 20 normal push-ups every morning.
That's awesome.
And then now it's like, now I'm actually like, that built a lot of the momentum to be able to like, okay, let's get, because I was like, the nutrition side of it is what I need to be focusing on. I was like, it doesn't matter how much I work out. I was like, if I'm not getting my nutritional point, this is all for nothing, essentially. I mean, it helps, but it's like, all right, now that I've done this, let's start attacking the nutrition side of it. So I started doing that, and then getting everything else. So like just that little bit kind of got the ball rolling, and then it just snowballed after there.
Exactly.
And now I'm talking to my old trainer again.
Yeah. I mean, but you nailed it. Like, you started with something and it just snowballs. And I mean, I have guys that have trained forever and are in phenomenal shape. And they're like, I have one guy, he's 62, owns a concrete company up here. And he's like, oh yeah, I grew up just doing 30 push-ups in the morning and 30 push-ups before bed, because that's what my dad told me to do, and he still does it. And it like, does the 30 push-ups actually do anything physically for you anymore? Definitely not. Not really, I would say, but like, it probably stems and turns on a complete mindset of starting the day and finishing the day working hard, and wakes up the mind. You know what I mean? And it gets the mind where it needs to be to go accomplish some great things. And the guys accomplish some really great things from a professional standpoint. I'm like, I just think those things all tie in. And that's been like a big preaching point to us for years, is how fitness plays such a bigger role in our lives than just fitness. It doesn't have to do with having six packs or sexy biceps or the booty, whatever it is. Like, it actually has so much to do with discipline and really being able to make tough decisions when we have to make tough decisions in life, whether that be in our career, our relationships, being a better dad, being a better mom. Like, having that discipline that starts with fitness and health branches off and touches all these other areas of our life that we don't even know that it touches. But I just feel like it really helps us be better people and better humans when that discipline starts with health and fitness.
Awesome, man. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for coming on. Any last words you want to be able to give out there to everybody watching?
Dude, just stay positive. You know what I mean? Like, understand, like, life ebbs and flows. We go through these rough times. Like, there's millions of people in rough spots right now. And but I don't see any other choice. Like we have two choices to make, like we talked about earlier. We can complain and be soft and wait around, or we can just choose. Like we can choose not to be upset about the situation. We can choose not to be offended, and really just choose. Like we have the right to be offended in the moment, but we have a choice not to live offended. And so I just think that's where we really need to be at right now. Stay positive. Like other people feel that positivity from you, and likewise, like you can feel positivity from other people to get through it, and that'll help open up the mind a little bit. Again, build up momentum, which offers up and opens up the eyes and ears to opportunity. So I just hope everybody keeps grinding through it, and just wish the best for everybody.
All right. Well, thank you to everybody that was out there watching. I know James Lewis and Roy Strawn were some of the guys definitely getting in the comment section. We really didn't have any questions come in, but thank you guys out there for watching. Jordan, thank you so much for joining us on this special episode. We went live at 9 a.m. If anybody out there is still watching, please be sure to go follow Jordan Miller on Instagram, Facebook, and connect with him here on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Trying to get him built up here on this platform, show him all the great stuff that lives
Exactly.
here on LinkedIn. So this is pretty much where I live at, 100% of the time. So Jordan, once again, thank you guys so much. And everybody that's watching, please stay tuned. Later this week, we are going to be going live with a geothermal drilling engineer on Wednesday. And then I'm going to see if we can get set up on Friday a live session with doing another one of the educational series like what we did with Fred DePriest a couple of weeks ago, which went absolutely bananas. So for everybody out there watching, thank you so much. And as always, know your industry.